Welcome back. It's your boy Fresh.
And I'm Mary, and we are a Co-ople of nerds. And what better way to work together on Valentine's Day than to play some cooperative games? So today we're going to be bringing you our top 10 cooperative games for Valentine's Day 2022. So, before we begin, don't forget to give us a like, a subscribe, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
That's right. So we used, let me try to remember the app, rankingengine.pubmaple.com. And basically what you can do is you can punch in a bunch of board games, and essentially it'll pop up with X number of head-to-head matchups, and you pick which one is your favorite, and then it basically ranks them all.
Yeah.
So we did that together.
With all of our cooperative games.
With all of our cooperative games.
So there are lots of other cooperative games out there that might be better than this, but we don't know because we don't have them yet. So
yeah, I mean, you know, if we continue doing these top 10s, I expect this list to change as we play more games or new games come out and they're better than the ones we have today. But let's get started
with number 10.
Number 10. It's Ni no Kuni 2. So this is they call it a city building game, but in reality you're building more of a kingdom. It's a
little bit of resource management.
Yeah, a little bit. You go on adventures, try to defeat monsters, to get resources, to build buildings, to increase your influence on the town so that the big baddie can't take it over. We haven't played it in a while. It's definitely our most popular video. One of our goals this year is to do a playthrough on camera. So it's been a little while, but it's one that we really enjoyed and have played quite a bit.
And number 9, this was one that we played at Dice Tower Retreat, Legends of Andor. This is actually a somewhat older game, and we weren't even sure how we would feel about it, and we decided to give it a try. There were some people who were playing it and wanted some extra players at the Dice Tower Retreat, and we went. And this game was so much fun. This is a campaign game.
Yep.
And you work together. Each person has their own special abilities. You only have so much time in a day, so every action that you take takes up time in your day. And you have to accomplish something in that period of time. And I mean, you run it down to the wire. Yeah,
when we played the first scenario, there's ways to overexert yourself at the cost of your constitution or one of your stats. So I don't think it's health, I think it's the other one. But and so you need to overexert yourself at certain points in time, but you can't overexert yourself too much, or then you wouldn't be able to fight anybody. And
you have to accomplish these missions, but also like defend the castle.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and you have to decide, who's best to go on the mission to get it accomplished, while also who stays behind to defend the castle.
Right.
You have to work very, very closely together.
Yep. Yeah,
there is no one hero in this. Everybody has a very integral part.
Right. Number 8. So this is the Crew. So Valentine's Day, feeling a little extra frisky, you want to get 3, 4, 5 players in, you play the Crew.
There's a 2-player variant, which we do not recommend playing.
Right, yeah. When I was... we made the list, and then I was writing them down just so we wouldn't forget them. And I was like, oh, the Crew, we really hated that at 2 players.
Yeah.
But at 3 to 5 players, this game is an absolute blast. So it's a cooperative trick-taking game, which sounds counterintuitive. But you need to accomplish certain goals, and basically those goals will be, this person needs to win this card in this order. And that will change constantly. I think there's 50 different missions in a box. They made a second edition. The first one was about space. The second one was underwater. For everything I've read, they're pretty much the same. So get whichever one is cheapest.
Number 7 doesn't really need much of an explanation. Everybody knows Gloomhaven. And this was, this of course is a campaign game that we have played together. Mostly, I think, when I was pregnant with our daughter.
Yep. Yeah. Probably why this game isn't higher. Mary's not a huge fan of campaign games. I love campaign games.
Dungeon crawlers. I don't necessarily mind the campaign games, but it's the dungeon crawlers where you walk into a dungeon and all these monsters pop up, and you have to allot your resources to kill them. And you also have to roll the dice to make sure that you survive.
Well, Gloomhaven, there's no dice, so this is card-based combat.
I'm trying to remember.
And it has, each time you rest, you can either do a full rest, in which you get to pick which card of your deck is gone forever, or you do a quick rest, in which it's random. This game is great. It's my favorite game. It's down on this list because Mary's not as big of a fan. But I do think if we could settle down, get the kids away for...
It's a lot. It takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming.
Yeah, it's a time consuming game.
To have time for it, which we also don't have a lot of. So it makes it lower on the list when you don't have the opportunity to play it a lot.
That's right. Okay, number 6, Masters of the Night. So this is a kind of an area control game in which you are a clan of vampires who are trying to take over the city while maintaining the veil of secrecy. This game is tough.
It's very tough.
We have not beat this game. We've come close, though. I think we've come within a couple turns.
Really close.
I think towards the end, you really need to basically sacrifice your own minions, which sounds counterintuitive. But I think that's the mistake we made. We're not killing those guys off.
It's very thematic, which is even more fun.
Right. So, like, if you invade the radio station, you lower or you increase your veil, because basically they're on the radio saying, "Hey, vampires aren't real," and people are listening to the radio and believing it, etc., etc., etc. It's a lot of fun. We need to get it back to the table. I would like to beat this game one time.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun to play. Number 5 is also another favorite for Fresh, and I like it too. But he likes it mostly because of it's like not necessarily an IP, but
it's an IP.
Horrified. So Horrified, you're playing the Universal monsters. Well, you're playing against the Universal monsters as they and it varies which game you play, which Universal monsters you pick that you're going to play against in that game, and you have to pick up certain resources while also surviving. And also you have to save.
You're trying
people.
to save townsfolk. Each monster has a specific way to defeat it, which adds a whole lot of replayability to the game. You know, especially like you could play against Dracula every game, but if you pick 2, 3, 4 monsters, and as you add in other monsters, you know, maybe you have to keep defeating Dracula the same way, but now the Invisible Man, you need to gather evidence to convict him of his crimes. Frankenstein and his bride need to realize their humanity, then fall in love. It's super awesome.
It's very thematic in that sense.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoy as well. Any kind of game where you can feel the theme through it, because I feel like that's a really big challenge with games. Is you can add a theme to pretty much any game, but to actually be able to feel the theme when you're playing it is one of the biggest challenges when developing a game. And this is one of those games where you actually feel the theme throughout while you're playing it.
They did make a second one with, what is it, American Cryptid? So it's like Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil,
Chupacabra?
Mothman, Chupacabra, those types of characters. So number 4 is Legendary. Now, we basically there's 2 versions of this. There's Legendary Encounters, which tends to be paired up, at least the two that we really enjoyed, with Predator and Alien. And then there's Legendary Marvel deck building game. We kind of just combined them together when we were making this list.
Yeah.
And it's, a cooperative game in which there's a mastermind, at least in the Marvel game. There's a mastermind, and you need to defeat them while there's villains and bystanders. And
there are certain scenarios in this where it could be competitive.
Yeah,
very specific scenarios, but on a whole, it is.
Yeah, there's like an MVP kind of thing to it. We typically just don't even do it. Like, each villain you defeat has a victory point on it, and at the end you add up those victory points, and then whoever wins, that is the MVP. But we just play it as win or lose cooperative.
You have the ones though where it's like a sleeper. Remember? In the encounters.
Oh, when someone becomes an alien?
Yes.
Yeah, so in encounters, if a facehugger pops up and you can't defeat it before it implants an egg, you die and then are resurrected as an alien, and now you're fighting the other players at the table.
Yeah.
Which adds a whole lot of theme to the game. Marvel Legendary doesn't feel totally thematic, but I would say the encounters feels extremely thematic.
Yeah.
I mean, they follow the movies.
Although I still really enjoy Marvel Legendary.
Mm-hmm. They basically have made every single character
Yeah.
in the Marvel universe at this point.
It's fun to find your favorite character,
Yeah.
build them up, and defeat the head boss with your character. So number 3.
I don't know if we said that's a deck building game.
Deck building.
Did we say that?
I don't know. But it is.
It is.
It got me into deck building games.
That's right.
Number 3, Chronicles of Crime, and I love this. We don't have a lot of time for it. It does require an app, but I'm just one of those murder mystery kind of people, so I thoroughly enjoy it. And it's also it's just very well put together. With using the app to look at a crime scene and gather clues, and talking with different people, interviewing them and getting the answers that you need, and going to different locations and finding people. You definitely feel like you're really on the scene trying to solve the crime.
Right. So basically what this game kind of relies on are those called QR codes.
Yes.
Those fancy barcodes. So every card in this game has one of those. And basically you'll scan, a knife, and then scan a character card, and basically in the game, that is you as the detective asking this person, hey, have you seen this knife?
Right.
And then they'll go on a story of, well, that was my brother's, blah 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 blah, or they'll just be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
And so when they say you have no idea what you're talking about, you're heading down the wrong path, you need to change direction. If they go into a story, they could be lying, they could be telling the truth, you don't know. That's what you're trying to deduce. Again, this is one of those, it seems the further we get down our list, the higher the thematic goes, because we both I love a good story, you love feeling immersed into that world.
Right.
And this, that's just top level. It is amazing stories. There's a whole bunch more you can download once you get the app. You'll pay them a couple bucks.
We have several expansions that we haven't tried out yet.
We've got a bunch of expansions. This is a fantastic game. If you like murder mysteries, I highly recommend Chronicles of Crime.
I'm running out of Forensic Files episodes to watch. Well, I've seen them all.
By the way, if I die mysteriously...
No, all that Forensic Files proves is that you can't get away with it.
Yeah, but if you have them all memorized...
I've seen them all. And what they're saying in every single one is you can't get away with it, so you can't do it. That's fine.
So number 2 is Pandemic. Now, again, we combined, similar to Legendary, we combined Pandemic and Pandemic Legacy into one game. Pandemic is an entry-weight game, so if you don't play a ton of board games, Pandemic is
it's a gateway game.
Fantastic way to start.
It's definitely a gateway game.
Fantastic. This game hooks more players into the world of board game than any other thing else I can imagine.
Yeah, it was definitely my gateway game.
Yeah. But you basically it is a you're traveling the globe, or depending on which map you get, there's, I don't know, 100 different maps now. But you're traveling the globe, curing diseases, helping people out,
containing diseases.
Yeah, containing everything. There's some resource management, a lot of card play. It's kind of tough to explain. And then there's the legacy version, which basically takes that core concept, slaps a great big year-long story on it. Success and failures in each game of Pandemic Legacy alters the course of the following month, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can just flat out, you just lose too many. It's like, oh, you're done, dude.
Yeah.
You're done. Now, the downside of the Legacy game is it's a one-shot.
Yeah.
We tried to keep it separate, and it was just so much work.
You can't.
We couldn't do it, so we had to start over.
There's stickers, and you have to change things, so it's not worth it. But I feel like Pandemic is one of those games that keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time. You're just like, what's going to happen next? Can we do this? We're going to be able, we're doing great. We're really, we're taking care of all this disease in all these different cities, and then you just draw a card and you just fill them all back up, and you're like, I can't conquer this.
Yeah, Pandemic is that game that at the end of it, there's one or two turns that you either won the game or lost the game, and you know them immediately. You may not know it while you're doing the game, but afterwards, after you're sitting there catching your breath, talking about the game you just had, those turns will start to pop out and be like, I did this, and I really should have just cured this disease instead. And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the number one game I recommend to non-board game players is Pandemic.
And number one, Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one that we finally got to try out recently.
Yep.
And it was very intimidating at first because it's not just a long game. There's a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
But I really felt like I was stranded on a desert island and that we had to build a boat and put together resources to survive every day. Right. The theme just was so strong throughout the playing of this game, and you have to work very closely together with your teammates. Again, right. There's no one hero in this. Everybody has a role to play,
right?
And that I absolutely love that.
It won't even be like a glamorous role. I think my goal was just go out and hunt meat. Like that was my. But we needed it, or we were all going to starve to death. And I happened to be the best hunter in the group. And so turn after turn, and then sometimes you flip over that animal deck, and it's like, oh, that's a grizzly bear. I need a shotgun. I don't have one. I got a spear, and now I'm getting ravaged. But yeah, again, it's dripping in theme. You need to find shelter. You need to find food. You need to find water.
You have to survive the elements.
Yeah, there could be wind, snow, rain, any other natural elements. In this particular one we played, we had to go to another island and rescue someone. Or was that?
Yep. So was
it optional?
No, that was not optional.
That was mandatory.
And you had to rescue her. Because she wasn't really on like a full island, she was just like on a rock out there.
Oh,
so you had to get to her, you had to build a raft, get to her, bring her back, and then build a bigger raft.
Take care of her.
Yeah, take care of her and build a bigger raft.
She's been sitting on a rock, dying of dehydration and sun damage.
Yeah, and you have to do all of this because this big storm is coming in, so you have to do it all before the storm hits. So there's just so many things going on at one time.
Yeah. Really, really thematic. It was a lot of fun. We want to try out. We have the older version, so we might swap that for the newer one, just because in case there might be some expansions out that would be easier to find with the newer version. But it was a lot of fun. We played it with what was that, Meeple
Society.
And
They're very good teachers.
They are very good teachers.
And it's so nice to have them around.
Yeah, we suck at learning new board games.
It's intimidating. It's very intimidating
it's
to learn new
intimidating,
games, especially games that big. So when somebody else comes in and they already know how to play and they can just show you, it's just so much quicker and so much more enjoyable. And you can, sit down and play the game and just enjoy it instead of like putting your head in a book and trying to figure things out.
While kids are screaming at you and everything else. Well, that's our top 10 list. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you've played any of these. Are there any cooperative games not on the list that should be on the list? Let us know in the comments below. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Happy
Bye-bye.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Hey, Pumpkin. Has the poo ever just slid out?
We could go get Long John Silver's and not push when we poo.
Her daughter is practicing her potty training. And
she likes to make excuses why it ends up in her diaper instead of the toilet.
And then she tried to change her own diaper. The poo fell on the floor. She grabbed it and put it in the diaper. But don't worry, she grabbed it quick so her hands wouldn't get dirty.
And then came and gave Daddy big kisses. Not really. She was forced to wash her hands.
Foggy Gazer. Oh, need a little extra now.
So,
all right, number 6.
6. Masters of the Night.
I am Evans.
Oh, can you write that out?